Mama, will you tell Monsieur Louis Riel that I fought brave and proudly till I died?
Hello, my name is Will Goodon and I will be your MC today. Unfortunately, due to the severity of COVID-19 and the recent Manitoba health restrictions and the implementations of the Manitoba Métis Federation, we are unable to host the annual Louis Riel commemoration ceremony as we have traditionally done. Today, however, we invite you to join us virtually as we commemorate and celebrate the founding father of our great province, President Louis David Riel.
Le beau journal creator que Manitoba, nakshkato nanota anosh. Chikish kriak na grand chef nan Louis Riel. Met ne down not cœur anosh ayao. Chikish awana wia. Bike kwai ka keep ustad. Wichi nan poyesh. Chikish to celebrate yak awena wia. Kayachuan keyak we patch. Wichi na chikish ke kwai ka keep ustad. For kakeo le mood moyak por kianan. Maka kakeo. Ki not ne keo. Chikashkitayak chikishpayak not langinan. Chikashkitayak chushtayak not kulturinan. Tanchikashipe wikiak. Met newia kipe not ne keo for la province de Manitoba. Chikashkitachipetat delicate graduation. A modeste kwechekemon moju. Kakeo ta kaya chikli bini emiek. La bosta ati emiek anosh. Te kakeo chimyoyayak. Kakukweche meten boju. Chipinitayen oma kakakweustaya anosh. Mina kiamete minan. Chikishkshiak. En ik kijk mina regi not ne ketchik avec les Riel. Leur femme, leur famille mina. Kiamete minan. Chimiyayakok. The respectfully honor. Lord God, our Creator, Great Spirit, we are gathered here today to remember our great leader, Louis Riel. He is really in our hearts today as we want to remember who he is and what he did for us and all people. Help us to remember in a good way and to celebrate who he is and what he was. He fought for us to be able to speak our language. He fought for us to have our culture and how we lived. Also, he brought Manitoba into Confederation. I ask and all humbly to help us to remember who he was and to bless everyone that is here today and for us to be in good health. I ask all this, Lord, in your name. And help us, Lord, to remember him and the men that fought with him with respect and honor. Amen.
It will be very hard for me to keep my next introduction short. Not only is he our national president, but he has dedicated his entire life to serving the Métis Nation. Please help me welcome President Clem Chartrand.
Today, we gather again to commemorate the great sacrifice of our leader, President Louis Riel, who 135 years ago today gave his life in the defense of his people, the Métis Nation, a sacrifice we will never forget. 2020 also marks the 150th anniversary of President Riel and the Provincial government negotiating the entry of the Métis Nation into Confederation through the province of Manitoba, as well as the Rupert's Land Order for the rest of the Métis Nation homeland. Today we must continue to honor those great sacrifices, but we must also reflect on what is happening today, and I am very pleased and honored to say that I have worked closely with the President and Cabinet of the Manitoba Métis government, and I continue to believe that in the legacy of Louis Riel and the provincial government, that your government and your people will continue defending the rights of the Métis Nation, standing for the legitimacy of the Métis Nation, the integrity of the Métis Nation homeland, and I look forward to continuing this great struggle with you. thank you, and to all you citizens in Manitoba and across the homeland, I wish you well in this time of the pandemic. Thank you.
Our next dignitary has been a friend of the Métis since the days when she was an opposition member of Parliament. Now she is the Federal Minister of Crown and Indigenous Relations. Please help me welcome the Honourable Carolyn Bennett.
Tansi, bonjour, greetings. I'm joining you today from my home in Toronto on the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, where we acknowledge all the Indigenous peoples who paddled these waters and whose moccasins walked these lands. I would like to recognize your traditional territory of the Métis Nation, the Métis homeland, from where you are joining today. On Louis Riel Day, we commemorate the legacy of a man who was a Métis leader and father of Manitoba. We recognize his advocacy for the protection of the rights and culture of the Métis Nation. Aujourd'hui, nous le connaissons comme un activiste, un politicien et un père de la Confédération qui a fait entrer le Manitoba au sein du Canada il y a 150 ans. Il était un champion de l'égalité des droits, de la justice sociale et du bilinguisme. As Louis Riel said, we must cherish our inheritance. We must preserve our nationality for the youth of our future. The story should be written down to pass on. These values define us as Canadians. Today, we are proud of the hard work we are doing together to realize the vision of Louis Riel as you celebrate the spirit of your nation. By working together in partnership, the Government of Canada and the Manitoba Métis Federation are building a renewed relationship. C'est une relation fondée sur l'affirmation des droits, le respect, la coopération et la collaboration. Today, I remember fondly joining President Chartrand one late evening at Riel's grave. On the day, we honor the activist, leader, nation builder. Louis Riel helped to shape the country we know as Canada, and his voice continues to inspire us today. Merci, merci, thank you very much.
And now it is an honor to introduce a very good friend of mine. Not only is he the Federal Minister of Northern Affairs and a Member of Parliament for St. Boniface and St. Vital, but he is also a proud citizen of the Métis Nation. Please help me welcome your friend and mine, the Honourable Dan Vandel.
It is always an honor, albeit on this sober occasion, to join you today to commemorate the life and legacy of Louis Riel, 135 years after his execution. Je suis honoré d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui pour rendre hommage à Louis Riel, notre chef métis, père du Manitoba et un grand Canadien. Father of Manitoba, Louis Riel has left us an important legacy. He was a leader who believed in social justice and the equality of all people. He was an ardent defender of Métis and Francophone rights. He fought to protect Métis rights in our province and paid the ultimate price when he fought for the same with the Métis in Saskatchewan. I stand here today at Riel's final resting space. I remember him, and I also remember my relatives who fought alongside him here in Manitoba, as well as Batoche. Their resilience, their commitment, and their sacrifices help shape who I am and who we are as Métis people. So it is with great pride that I recognize and honor Louis Riel today and commit to continuing his legacy, both as a proud Métis and also as a member of a government that has made great progress in reconciling errors of the past with the Métis Nation. There is still much work to do, but together we are making great progress. Thank you, merci, miigwech.
I have known our next guest for a very, very long time. He is the Federal Parliamentary Secretary, and he is also the Member of Parliament for Winnipeg South. Please help me welcome your friend and mine, Mr. Terry Duguid.
Today, Canadians honor Louis Riel on the anniversary of his death 135 years ago. Louis Riel is renowned as leader of the Métis Nation, champion of Métis rights, and Manitoba's founder and father of Confederation. In 1885, before his burial in the St. Boniface Cathedral Cemetery, Louis Riel's body lay in state for 2 days at his family home, now Riel House National Historic Site in Winnipeg South, the riding I have the honor of representing in Parliament. Winnipeg South is rich in Métis history and is home to a proud and vibrant Métis community today. This year we celebrate the 150th anniversary of the province of Manitoba. We join with Métis people and all Manitobans in remembering the life and legacy of Louis Riel. As we reflect on the past, we also look towards the future. I would like to take this moment to recognize the leadership of President David Chartrand and the Manitoba Métis Federation. The Government of Canada is committed to working with you on the path forward through a nation-to-nation relationship based on mutual understanding and respect. In this way, we can honor the memory of Louis Riel.
As we are celebrating Manitoba's 150th anniversary this year, it is very fitting that we have the Manitoba Provincial Minister of Sport, Culture and Heritage, the Honourable Kathy Cox.
It's my sincere pleasure to join all of you here today on behalf of our Premier, Brian Pallister, and all of my colleagues in the Manitoba Legislature. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge that I'm speaking from Treaty 1 territory and the homeland of the Métis Nation, which is especially significant for today's event. I am truly pleased to again be part of this very important commemoration ceremony to honor the life of Louis David Riel. I want to extend my sincere thank you to our elder for the opening prayer and thank my good friend, President David Chartrand, for the invitation to participate today. I am truly honored to join all of you. And while I miss gathering in person during these challenging times, it's important we make sacrifices to protect our most vulnerable. As we celebrate Louis Riel's contribution to our shared history, we remember that he gave up his life for the land, language, and political rights of his people, and for the values of diversity, equality, and social justice. Louis Riel led the Legislative Assembly of Assiniboia, Manitoba's first democratically elected government. And the members of the Assembly were predominantly Métis and were particularly concerned with the safeguarding of their language rights. And most significantly, the Assembly ratified the Manitoba Act in June of 1870, allowing for Manitoba's entry into Confederation. The recognition of the valuable contributions made by Louis Riel and the Métis people to the development of our province is an important foundation of reconciliation. We can never forget those who have laid down the foundation for what we have today. So I say to all of you, thank you for your work in keeping Louis Riel's legacy alive today. Please accept my best wishes and my hope and best wishes for all of you for continued good health and safety. Thank you again for allowing me to join you today. Miigwech.
Our next speaker has thrown his support behind Louis Riel as the first Premier of the province of Manitoba. Please help me welcome the Manitoba leader of the New Democratic Party and the leader of the opposition, Mr. Wab Kinew.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Wab Kinew, je suis chef du Parti néo-démocrate ici en Manitoba. Hello, I'm Wab Kinew, leader of the Manitoba NDP. Bonjour, wabana ndigo. Aujourd'hui, nous nous souvenons de la part du Manitoba, Louis Riel. Today we gather to honor the memory of the father of Manitoba and our first Premier, Louis Riel. Now, on this day, we commemorate the important contributions that Louis Riel made, the opportunities that he opened up for us, and of course, to honor and acknowledge the terrible mistreatment that both he and his people endured. But I'm also very proud and filled with a great sense of esteem for the Métis Nation to witness your rise again to your rightful position of power and success here in Manitoba. Now, of course, we can't gather because of the pandemic, and it's on top of all of our minds. So I've been wondering, what would Louis Riel say about the pandemic? I believe that he would ask us to all work together to protect the seniors, to protect the elders, to protect the vulnerable, and to protect the children. And so we got to mask up, we got to keep a distance, and we got to observe the public health measures. But along the way, let's keep in mind that we want to live up to that vision of Louis Riel. Ahaw misugo minik miigwach kabizinda awayek, kego wani ke kek indinaway maganag, kego wani ke kek Louis Riel. Miigwach, merci, thank you.
We're always honored to have a representative from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police at this event. Please help me welcome RCMP D Division Commanding Officer, Assistant Commissioner Jane McClatchy. As we all know, the Métis Nation was born here at the Red River Settlement. Today, that community is known as the City of Winnipeg. Please help me welcome the Mayor of Winnipeg, Mayor Brian Bowman.
Hi everyone, I want to begin by acknowledging we're on Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. J'aimerais tout d'abord souligner le fait que nous nous trouvons sur le territoire visé par le traité numéro 1 et la terre ancestrale de Métis. Thank you for having me speak at this Manitoba Métis Federation virtual event today and for all the work that you're doing to make our community stronger. Today is an incredibly important date in Manitoba's and Canada's history. And as we all know, Louis Riel was a Métis leader, founder of Manitoba, and central figure in the Red River and Northwest resistances. Although Riel was dismissed by some historians as a rebel, he's now recognized as a Métis leader who fought to protect his people, the Métis Nation, and their way of life. He led 2 popular Métis governments and was central in bringing Manitoba into Confederation. And he gave the Métis people hope, strength, and pride. His contributions have helped the Métis community and identity thrive. Riel paved the way for the Métis people, for our great province, and for the city of Winnipeg as well. This year, we celebrate 150 years since Manitoba's entry into Confederation, a landmark that came to pass because of the contributions of Métis leader Louis David Riel. The history of Riel, the Métis people, our province, and our country are truly woven together. Today is a day to remember we are all living in the heart of Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis. And I want to wish everyone today a great day as we commemorate and honor the life and death of Louis Riel. Merci, miigwech, and thank you so much.
We are pleased to be able to welcome our next guest, the Police Chief of the Winnipeg Police Services, Police Chief Danny Smythe.
Hello, and greetings to my friends at the Manitoba Métis Federation. Now, 2020 was supposed to be a celebration year. We were celebrating our 150th anniversary as a province. Sadly, there really hasn't been a lot to celebrate this year. Now, I was pleased that I was able to join you at this time last year at the gates of Upper Fort Garry. We were commemorating a couple of things. The blocking of the Lieutenant Governor McDougall arriving in Manitoba and the taking of the fort. This set in motion a pathway to our entering Confederation. Now, if I've learned anything about the Métis people, it's they've had to fight for just about everything. And despite the fact that at times the Métis have been treated so disrespectfully, you are an inclusive and generous people. It is fitting that we mark this occasion to commemorate Louis Riel on November 16th. November 16th is the date that the Convention of 24 was formed. Riel insisted that the English-speaking parishes send representatives to meet with the French-speaking representatives of the Métis communities. He went out of his way to make sure that everyone had a voice in the debate about the community's future. This inclusive act by Riel paved the way for the Convention of 40 and the provisional government that Riel was the president of. They ran things in this community until the eventual ratification of the Manitoba Act in 1870. I know Riel was declared as the president of that long ago provisional government, but for me personally, I will always think of him as our first premier. So wow, I think I just summed up the whole Red River resistance in less than a minute. And little did I know that when I joined you at the gates of Upper Fort Garry last year, on that freezing day, it would be the first and the only gathering I would take in to celebrate our 150th anniversary. In hindsight, I think it was only fitting that if I was only going to attend one gathering, it was with you, the Métis. I got to tell you, I miss being in the community and I miss meeting and greeting people in person. In fact, the last time that I saw David Chartrand was in Ottawa and he was preparing to meet Prime Minister Trudeau. Ran into him at the Chateau Laurier. Now it's all Zoom meetings and video recordings, and that's kind of what we've had to adapt to. But I look forward to meeting with all of you in person when we get through on the other side. Until then, I'm a proud friend of the Métis people. Stay well, everyone.
The University of Winnipeg has long been an ally of the Métis Nation and the Manitoba Métis Federation, and we are very pleased to welcome Dr. James Curry, the President of the University of Winnipeg.
Good morning. I'm Dr. James Curry, Interim President and Vice Chancellor of the University of Winnipeg. Thank you, President Chartrand, for inviting me to participate. I'm pleased to speak to you today on the occasion of the annual Louis Riel Commemoration Ceremony. The University of Winnipeg and the Manitoba Métis Federation enjoy a strong partnership which is based on common cause and mutual respect. Our common cause is education. We believe in the power of education to transform lives and that through education we may create a better society. In his early years, Riel himself was a scholar of distinction, and I imagine that he too believed in the power of education. In 2018, the University of Winnipeg and the Manitoba Métis Federation signed a 10-year partnership agreement, the purpose of which is to together conduct policy research and to provide credible data and analysis to inform decision-making. In our first year, President Chartrand asked us to focus on the current school readiness status among Métis children across Manitoba, which is an important indicator for how children will do in school. We are now looking at how Métis children are faring in grades 3, 6, and 9. This information will help the MMF to develop policy solutions and interventions that will enhance educational outcome for Métis citizens. Once they reach post-secondary, the MMF and U-Winnipeg also work together to support Métis University students. Since 1999, the Louis Riel Institute has awarded more than $2 million in bursaries to Métis students here attending U-Winnipeg. Thanks to this partnership, students have more access to opportunities that will help them realize their educational and professional dreams. The success stories of hundreds of Métis students demonstrate how powerful, important, and impactful these bursaries are. We often say that we are growing leaders here at U-Winnipeg. That is really what post-secondary education is all about. We work with the MMF and the Louis Riel Institute to grow Métis leaders in many different fields: health and medicine, business, policy and self-governance, history, criminal justice, and theater, to name a few. At U-Winnipeg, we want to make sure that Métis students have the opportunity to study whatever they wish, and that they see a path for themselves to leadership in every field of professional practice. I know that this vision is shared by the MMF and the Louis Riel Institute. Riel's legacy lives. Thank you. Merci.
Not too many people know that the library at the University of Manitoba was donated by a Métis scholar. Please help me welcome Dr. Michael Benarosh, the president of the University of Manitoba, for his remarks.
On behalf of the University of Manitoba, miigwech for this opportunity to support the celebration of Louis Riel's 150-year legacy, and miigwech to the Manitoba Métis Federation for your leadership in amplifying the voices of Manitoba's Métis community. U of M is honored to reside on the homeland of the Métis Nation, and we recognize our role in honoring and protecting Métis culture. As president of U of M, I am pleased to see many students embracing our connection with Manitoba's founding father, whether through taking a course in Michif, hosting a Michif kitchen party, or rubbing a thumb on a statue before exams for good luck. For me personally, I find inspiration in Riel's visionary thinking and his courage and conviction to stand up and protect minority rights and culture. U of M Archives and Special Collection has a letter Riel wrote in 1883 to Pierre Lavallee, the clerk and treasurer at the time of St. Francis Xavier. In it, Riel asked Lavallee to use his position to promote the common interest of a cordial union between the Métis and French Canadians. Riel was a bridge builder. He wanted the systems of his day to work for all people. His legacy reminds me that Manitoba's largest university has to work for all Manitobans. I know U of M has progress to make, and we continue to implement the recommendations of the Indigenous Senior Leadership Report under the direction of our Vice President Indigenous, Dr. Catherine Cook, a member of the Métis Nation. As we continue to work together, I believe we can see meaningful progress for all. So I thank the Manitoba Métis Federation for giving me the opportunity to connect with you today, and I look forward to having real in-person conversations together soon. Miigwech.
Our next speaker has dedicated her life to serving the Métis Nation, and in particular, Métis women. Please help me welcome the spokeswoman of the Infinity Women's Secretariat and the MMF Minister of Finance, Anita Campbell.
Hi. I want to acknowledge our elder for the prayer and all those who are participating in this virtual commemorative event. Today is a day to show respect and to remember our great leader, Louis David Riel, for his strength, his wisdom, his courage, and for his love of his people, the Métis. In numerous communities throughout Canada, Louis Riel is being remembered for all he did, and he's especially being remembered here in Winnipeg. He is remembered as the father of Manitoba and the founding father of Confederation in Canada. Statues have been made of this great leader, songs produced, books written and published, and plays created, all in his name and his life. Throughout his time, Louis Riel was a fighter of rights such as religious freedom, language rights, and gender equality, just to name a few. He was a strong advocate for the Métis and a defender of minority rights in general. It was those values and strengths that we, the Métis, remember today. I'd like to share this quote with you that Riel stated in one of his trial speeches. He stated, "Will perhaps be one day acknowledged as more than a leader of the half-breeds, and will have an opportunity of being acknowledged as a leader of good in this great country. I know that this has been achieved as he is definitely recognized and remembered as a great leader in this country." As a kid growing up, nobody wanted to acknowledge being Métis. It was something no one talked about and pretty much tried to hide. Most of us can relate, as it was a dark time in our own lives, and we each have our own stories to tell. Today, times are so different. There is a rebirth of our culture, our music, our traditions, and our ways. The pride is definitely there, and it's growing. And so today is just our small way of remembering Louis David Riel and showing him the respect and love we have for him, as you have made me and many others so proud to be Métis. Thank you.
The Métis Nation has been blessed with strong leaders throughout its history, starting with people like Louis Riel, and the baton has now been passed to our president, David Chartrand, and it has been an honor to work with him and to know him. Please help me welcome our president, David Chartrand.
Today is November 11th. This is a pre-recording for November 16th. I feel quite different today in the sense of November 16 is always something so special that we have, as leaders, ventured here to pay our great respect to Riel and thank him for all that he's given us and where we've come today because of him. This COVID-19 has changed everything for us. Manitoba has over 8,000 people that have been affected by this COVID. Over 100 people have died already. And I'm sure Riel will understand that this November 16th will be different. I still will be here November 16th if I have to be here alone. We're not allowed to gather more than 5. In fact, we're not even allowed to gather at all. I will be here to still show my respect November 16, but the crowd we usually see with dignitaries from all governments, from institutions, from children, from schools, none of that will be here. But it doesn't mean we don't or have lost our way to respecting Riel. In fact, our respect will even continue to be even greater because we'll feel a passion of missing something, missing our opportunity to be here on a special day, a day when this country executed and murdered a great leader, the father of Manitoba, founder of Canada, and truly a patriot. It is something I have devoted my life to fight for his vision, to fight for those things that he felt were pivotal to our nation's existence. The land claim, the children's lands to be set aside for their future, which was stolen and robbed from us. It took us over 140 years in the courts to get justice, and we did. And I know he smiled upon us when I brought here to his site the decision of the Supreme Court of Canada and laid it on his grave to show him we never gave up what he gave his life for. And we're still not going to give up. I'm sure he's so proud of us today. We've made such great headway. We have surpassed many of our elders' visions, dreams that have become reality. I'm sure today, if Riel, who felt education was pivotal, as we all know, the church played a very important role in that. In fact, they sent him to Montreal to go and get his schooling, to become a priest. In fact, instead, he ended up going to law school. And there was a reason probably for that. He was probably being guided and sent in a different pathway because he had a job to do, a job that I strongly believe, because I pray every night before I go to bed, that the good Lord sent him on a pathway. He had to come home to help his people. But in order to do that, he had to learn skills. Skills he needed to understand to how he was going to fight the battle to protect the people of the West and the Métis Nation, his little Métis Nation. There will always be only one Métis Nation, and that's Riel's nation. And I look on and I say to myself, you know, education was pivotal for him defending us. And today he must smile upon us that we've been able to succeed in securing funding now for all of our post-secondary students. Those were dreams. Dreams in his era and dreams in many leaders before me's era. But the reality now. And we're very proud as a Métis government. We have $5,000 now for every post-secondary student. And right now, in fact, during this COVID crisis, we're issuing checks to every student in post-secondary education to make sure they got food on their table, to protect themselves. For those out there, one day when you reflect upon this particular message, 10, 20 years from now, you'll know that this province and this country and the world was attacked by a virus. And these gestures I speak of, by sending students some money to put food on their table, is going to be so pivotal today for the survival and safety of them and their families. Because this virus is taking lives. And there's over 50 million people in the world today that have been affected by this COVID crisis. This virus has attacked the world. and it changed so much. That's why I feel a little bit lost today, being November 11th, special day to remember all of our veterans. But to me, I feel lost because I feel that Riel is going to be cheated somewhat of having the people that could come here and show their direct and community-based support of pride and enjoyment for him. I'm sure people will still come and go throughout. I seen a gentleman come here today and lay a single poppy beside his grave. I don't know who that gentleman was, but I want to thank him and say thank you on behalf of the Métis Nation for never forgetting Riel and the role he played. I am so proud today of the Métis government, and you say beside me all these wreaths. These would be vice presidents that would be standing here, along with my fellow cabinet colleagues, who would be standing here on behalf of the Métis government that Riel created and help us evolve and develop. So Riel, I say thank you. I will be here November 16th, as I've always been. I'll be here to pay my greatest respect to one of the greatest leaders in this country and in the world. And we know we owe it to you, and we'll never forget that. So Louis David Riel, we pay homage and we pay honor to you. And to all our fellow Manitoba Métis citizens, I speak on your behalf when I say thank you, and thank you to the Riel family that paid the price, and to all those other families that stood beside them that paid that price. There was many civilian casualties as our people fled to the west and fled to the north. Many young children died in that attempt to free themselves of tyranny, an attack by the Canadian government and the military that paid such a dear and a reign of terror to so many of our families. Women suffered, men suffered, children suffered. But it never broke our spirit. It never broke Riel. And Riel came back in 1885 to fight for us again. And this time, they want to silence him forever. And they hung him and murdered him in this country. And today, our people will always continue to come back and pay our respects. And we've got one more chapter to finish for this great man. And that's to ensure that his statue stands in Parliament and he be considered and actually recognized as the father of one of the fathers of the country of Canada. That is something we yet have to fulfill, because he belongs there and nobody will steal justice from him and honor from him. So again, on behalf of the Métis citizens, I want to thank you for standing with your Métis government, and I want to thank you, Riel, for who you are and what you gave us. You gave us the vision, the pathway, you cleared the road for us. Now we know where to go to finish off and make sure we get at the end of that road to find where we belong in Confederation and find our place truly in Canada, and our people to be treated with the greatest respect and honor that they deserve. So again, to all those, and to COVID, you're not going to steal this from us. You may try to take us away from here, but you're not going to steal our right to honor this great man. So again, be safe, take care, and next November 16, that virus won't be here. And I assure you this graveyard will be full of so many Métis people that could not and were stolen from this particular year to pay homage and honor to Riel. So again, thank you to everyone, and I hope that you can set aside a special time, November 16, send a little prayer. Riel will know you're praying to him, because I pray to him nearly every night. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us here today as we commemorate and celebrate the life of our past president, Louis Riel. The future of the Métis Nation grows brighter and stronger, and we must never forget the sacrifices that he made for us as we continue to fight for the future of the Métis Nation. Please help me join with Elder Vernon de Montney as we close off today's ceremony with a closing prayer.
Thank you, Great Spirit. Thank you, Lord, for watching over us and giving us to see another day. Thank you for the many blessings you give us. Thank you for giving us direction and making us strong. Thank you, Lord, for giving us our great leaders and the leaders we have today, and the many knowledgeable people that make everything possible that we have today. Bless each and every person that is here today, Lord. Give them good health. Let them be healthy and be safe in this time of need. Help us and watch over us daily. I ask all this in your name, Lord. Amen.